Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC Spring Div 2 Promotion Tournament number 2. We are at match point here for Invulnerables in the first series of this tournament up against 5. And Flipper, we said before this game that K5 needed to adapt. They changed some stuff up. They brought in the Draven, they brought in the Jarvan, the early aggression, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and I expect them to have gone back to the drawing board here, and they have gotten some new strategies they're gonna pull out here. Because for me, it definitely seems like Fiora cannot be allowed to be
Yep.
up again. There's no more ego here. You have to say, okay, this guy on Fiora, no go. Let's just remove this pick and see if we can find a different style of comp. And for me, it seems like the team with the better scaling seems to be favored in the games.
Yeah.
So I would hope that if I'm looking at K5, if they're gonna take us to the final K5 game, they need to see if they can get a better scaling comp than Invulnerable.
Yeah, the early aggression, it was good. We talked about the 4,500 gold lead that Floops had in the early game, but the Draven wasn't able to interact. He wasn't able to sort of enforce that lead, I guess, onto the members of Invulnerables. And then as soon as you let a Fiora, as soon as you let a Victor scale into oblivion like they did, it's really hard to come back with a composition that can't find access onto those picks.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so hard for them to play, especially when the Fiora gets such a big lead. And he is also able to shut down the Maokai. If they were able to have a good front line with the Maokai, it could have been a way easier game to play. But again, they were just put too far behind in the top side. So he was just paper thin and just
Mm.
being one shot as we are entering Champions League now.
Yeah, K5 once again electing to be on the red side here. So I think the key things for us coming in Flipper is you can't enable Uzol. I think if it's on the Fiora, if it's on some other form of split pusher, you can't give him a champion that he's going to be given time on. You need to take it to him in the early stages and put him in a hole that he can't get out of.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these bans here. I'm praying to see a Fiora ban. I just pray. I mean, I wanna. If it's up, then I'm happy for Yusel because he's gonna probably insta lock that one and be like,
Mm.
"It's my time to shine now." He's then I would expect the series to end in a 3-1. But so far, I have hope that this Fiora is gonna be taken away and we're gonna have a solid normal game here.
A normal game that isn't going to be skewed by the Fiora. And the thing about it is it's not just a pick that Uzol is good on, because we know it,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
not going to be seeing it in this
Game
game.
5. We have hope. We have hope. It is there.
But the issue is, like, Fiora, obviously she's incredibly strong in the meta right now, but it feels like with Fiora players, it's not just the Fiora that they're insane on. It's always they've got like a Camille or a Gwen in their pocket that they can play, and if they get accelerated on something like that as well, it's equally disastrous.
Yeah, that is definitely true, but at least it won't be on Fiora. And so far, we know he can do it on Fiora, so now he has to prove it. He has to prove to us that he has this Kimmel, that he has this other pick that he's gonna be able to slam dunk with as well. So we do see the normal Varus first pick. It has been the trend for Invulnerable. They have been favoring that champ. Will we
Hmm.
see the Silas pick again, or will they be like, okay, it is not working out the past 2 games for us with the Silas? Maybe they should go with along a different route to maybe make sure that they have a better mid matchup for Carbon.
I think that's key, right? Because Fierce wasn't pressurized at all in that game, really. There were a couple of early looks towards the Victor, but still went absolutely deathless. And Flipper, they are sticking with the Thresh. I mean, Nodu had some great plays in that game. Like, don't get me wrong, he was able to get Floops ahead, but it's not been working out. And I don't know if this is the thing that you needed to change or whatever, man.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that the fresh pick is still when now they have their backs against the wall.
Mm.
What do you want your Nodu on? Do you want on his comfort fresh or do you want him on anything else? They comfort
It's
fresh.
so difficult.
They comfort fresh.
I love this poppy though. I absolutely love this poppy because this
Yeah.
was a pick that Stardust
Yeah.
really actually bullied Uzol on in game one. But it does give over a pretty strong ultimate that you
Okay,
can steal away as the Silas.
so I'm just gonna say it would be the ultimate disrespect to now beat Cobbin with the Silas, with how
Oh
much
yeah.
priority he has had with it. So that's actually such a show. And they picked the Renata. They're like, not only do we pick Renata, which was the reason why Cobbin won them that game one, we
Mm.
also take away the Silas to make sure that this Renata is of a big influence in this game.
And like the sort of 3-person core lock in for Invulnerables is just power. Like, these are just picks which are incredibly good, and K5 are a little bit more focused on the
Ooh.
counter picks. Okay, we're seeing something different. So Syndra has had a mini rework, which I believe is on live right now, which is basically just giving her a bit more power in all stages. But this is not a pick that we've really seen too much of in pro play for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to note, if you look at the bans from the side of K5, I do think we can see a trend here. We do not like the top laner of Invulnerable. They are banning the Olaf, they're banning the Fiora, they're banning the Sejuani, and now they're banning the Darius. They're just taking every champ away from Yusel, saying, we do not want you to be the carry of this game. They do not want to see him on one of these powerhouses that he has to take over the game. They're saying, no, this time someone else on this team has to carry, and we will have to see if they can find that guy.
But I tell you what, there's a fair amount of respect actually being shown by Invulnerables with that Draven ban, because whilst
Yeah.
Floops wasn't able to carry his team to victory, he still put them in a very good position. I think if a couple of fights had worked out a little bit differently, then we could be sat here at K5, who are actually sat on match point. And with the final ban, K5 are going to be going towards that jungler for Hellish. Actually, the Belveth, again, not something that we really talked about in the previous game, but definitely put up a solid performance.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking towards this final ban here, thinking, is it going to be one of these scaling picks? Because Sivir is still available to be picked, and they do end up banning the Justana. So they're saying, okay, we do not want to give you an aggressive AD carry who can maybe snowball. So now I'm looking at Floops. Do you have a Kalista potentially or another kind of aggressive ADC you're going to put out? Or are you going to fall back to one of these comfort scaling AD carries like the Sivir or such?
I mean, the Callista Thresh was like a combo that sort of as soon as Callista was released was absolutely incredible. But we're going towards that different style. Jinx, something that thrives in later game team fights. You get one kill, you can reset forward with the passive, the bonus movement speed and attack speed, and take people out.
Yeah, and this is what I love to see from K5. It almost as if they are watching the stream and they're like, oh, let's just listen here. Because they are going full scaling. They have the tank top lane, they have the defensive support, they have the scaling AD carry, they have the normal mage mid lane. They are just lined up and primed to see if they can win out this scaling war.
What did I say, Flipper? What did I say, Flipper? Every
Yeah.
single Fiora player could play a mean Cavill as well. We'll have to see how Uzol pilots this. Obviously, still something that the Poppy can interact with fairly well in terms of the laning phase, but once you get to 3 items, again, pretty much the same. Massive amounts of true damage that can come out from that split push, and if she ever gets on top of Floops, 60% that health bar is just gone. You know,
Yeah,
different style here
definitely.
from Hellish in game 4 with the Trundle, a brilliant counter to some of these hyper tanks like the Poppy.
Yeah, and I do think I really like the final two picks from the side of Invulnerable because they're saying, okay, you have a Jinx, let's pick something that can just lock down this Jinx so that we can get onto her. And that Camel does exactly that. He wants to get on top of her, and he wants to land that ult, and he wants to take him out. There's no, is this? Okay, I was about to say there's no way it's gonna be said, right? Okay, it
No,
does
no,
end
no.
up being the Viego, and from my perspective here, it is definitely what I love to see from
Mm.
K5. They have adapted well here in the game 4. They have a good scaling comp. They have the Viego Syndra combo where they can potentially get free resets. They have the good scaling AD carry. They have a very good front line in the Puppy, and then they have a good supportive good supportive support who can save whoever is in trouble. But at looking at Invulnerable, I'm also very happy with their draft. Have reacted very well. They have seen they have only one tank at the side of K5, and they picked the Trundle, making sure now that they're still able to potentially burst down, making it so that there is no solid front line to keep this Jinx safe.
I feel like we've got nice sort of power curves from both teams as well. Like I'm looking at that mid jungle duo for K5 to be incredibly impactful in the early stages, and then if you can use that to get a reset in a later fight, then that's just going to benefit the Viego for paying forward and massively benefit Floops' Jinx. But on the side of Invulnerables, you got this Varus Renata, which is a pretty damn strong duo, even if Pixelo hasn't been getting the most advantages out of the early stages of the game. But again, if we wait 30 minutes, Uzol is going to kill people.
Yeah, I will say it isn't as easy with a Camille to get onto the backline here because there is that Poppy standing in front of him, so it's not easy to just jump in because if Poppy is standing in front, he should be able to deny it. It is up to Yusol to find the flanks and find the tricky situation where he can come in from the side and potentially
Mm.
get onto Floops. So I'm gonna be very interested to see if he can pilot this Camille as good as he has been piloting the Fiora.
And we've got to remember, this is not do or die for K5, but it's they'd be on life support a little bit. Dropping down into the losers bracket is never something you want to happen in this tournament, because it puts you at such a bad spot going forward into the rest of the tournament, as we are jumping onto the Rift for potentially the final time, Flipper. Invulnerables at match point, and K5 are going to have to do anything to stop them.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be on Floops and on Usol to be the deciding factor in who is gonna win this game. If Floops is going untouched this time around, he's not a Draven who doesn't have that high range. He's on a Jinx who can definitely get onto anyone with her range. So if she's going to be able to go untouched, she can take over.
And that is an issue that I feel like the Invulnerables composition does have. You've got a lot of dive from champions like the Camille and like the Silas, but if that dive sort of fails, you can't really get in range of the Jinx. It's so difficult to get on top of it unless you are coming from these flanks where Nodu and Starduster should be helping out. This is a little bit funky at the level 1, Flipper.
This could be game deciding already. There is an invade here ready.
Ooh. Going forward with the Chain Lash on top of Starduster, but this is a rough spot for Invulnerables. 3v4 in the top side, and it's first blood for the Poppy.
Yeah, and Noru making the difference there, lying in wait, going up with them, expecting Invulnerable to have gone for this kind of cheeky play, now getting Poppy an early kill, which can be huge for the lane. If Poppy gets hit, then all of a sudden that split push threat just won't be there as it was in the previous 2 games.
I mean, Starduster on the Poppy, like, look, pretty damn good in game 1. So we'll have to track if he's able to use this advantage. And it does mean that Invulnerable's Hellish is going to be a little bit delayed on his jungle start. The Trundle, not the fastest clearer either, so going to have to take a little bit more time before he can interact with these lanes. I believe Nodu did miss out on a little bit of XP as Starduster starting that tackle, slamming Uzol into the wall, but still takes a fair chunk of damage.
Definitely, I love watching top laners trade, because early levels is just about getting the control and
Okay. Still getting slammed into the wall, but is able to go forward onto Starduster. The grass box being traded, and the Camille getting the better end of things for now. Obviously, still a fair bit of sustain available in this lane.
Yeah, definitely. In these kind of situations, you have to be afraid when you're Starduster. If you take too many bad trades, you could be diveable from Trundle, so he has to be a bit afraid of that so far, because they do not know where Trundle is starting without this level 1 win. All they do know is Trundle is gonna be delayed. It does seem like Painful is just taking the route of saying, okay, Hellish is delayed, so he's just gonna take a camp lead on him instead of taking any kind of gank opportunities he might have with the lead he has right now.
And as it stands, it is shove being generated in these side lanes for Invulnerables, similar to the previous game, whereas mid lane is a little bit less contested. Obviously, the Syndra is a champion that thrives in the early stages of the game, but once again, if she doesn't get snowballed, and she can become a little bit less effective as you get later into the game, not unlike a Draven.
Definitely. It's definitely one of those champions that just continues to ramp up and just continues to get stronger and stronger. It does seem like they're looking for a pick here with Fresh and Diego here, and they're gonna get it.
Yeah, Piscalo forced to flash away, but the hook comes through from Nodu. The Varus chased under the tower by Painful, but the Blethering King is enough to think about. That is a beautiful handshake. Exquisite stuff from Stander, and gets his carry kill. Floops is not what he wants to be right now, as Hellish is roaming over as well. We're just waiting on that handshake cooldown from Sander. The flash still available for the Jinx if he chooses to use it. Gonna be juking back, still trying desperately to dodge away from that ability, and will successfully get out of there as Nodu not quite enough length on the death sentence.
And what seemed like perfection for K5 turns out to be disaster. They end up getting a beautiful pick onto Pisk, but they're not able to finish it off, and it ends up costing them 2 flashes and a kill with blue buff going over to the Varus.
Sander caught out, just stood a little bit AFK in lane. That's a great handshake, and the bailout is going to be enough. No, Floops gets the heal, and Common fails the combo onto Piscalo, and the AD carry stays alive.
Holy moly, the start of this game 4 is looking spicy. Holy moly.
This is a little bit more my tempo, and interesting thing. Okay, Flipper, You remember the old Syndra, where she could do the fancy EQ,
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
comes out later? They removed that with this rework, and that was the combo that Cobham was going for. Doesn't get the stun, doesn't get the damage onto Piscalo, and the AD carry escapes with a slither of HP.
Yeah, could have been huge if they were able to get that kill as well. But in the end, ooh, it does seem like they're gonna look for a pick here.
Yeah, Fierce getting stunned up with the Spectrum Stander with the handshake pushes Painful away, but I suppose this is the aggression that we kind of needed to see from K5 with this composition coming out. Obviously, there's been a couple of fumbles, but as it stands in the early game, they are the ones finding the advantage, and once more, Starduster roaming down from the top lane to secure this early Drake, but doesn't have the teleport this time around.
Yeah, that's definitely a big move to decide to pull out, because this does mean now the Camille is gonna get a big lead again, because he decides to move down and actually spend a lot of time making sure they end up getting the first Drake of the game very early.
Cobham has moved towards the top side, so he's going to be able to collect this wave. So it's not completely disastrous for K5, but obviously the lane assignments not really where you would like them to be at. And for Invulnerables here, they're going to be all right with this. Yeah, you lose the early Drake, but 20 farm on Uzol is shown to be a very, very important thing for him to get. And the Camille is going to be a threat the longer that she is left in this matchup where she can just take her time.
Yeah, and it's going to potentially end up in another situation of if they keep leaving Starduster without resources that they're not gonna have the frontline that they will need, and that could be very detrimental to how this game is gonna be played out if Starduster is not gonna be able to reach those item breakpoints that he wasn't able to attain last game.
Yeah, obviously a different role on the Poppy, so slightly less resource dependent, but like dealing with true damage is difficult as game's just gone off our screen there briefly, but still absolutely fine. And we see Painful starting to make some moves around towards this bottom lane and ultimately decides not going to be worth it.
So if I'm K5 right now, I'm saying, okay, we have very good scaling, so we can slow the pace of the game down right now. They do stand with a 2-kill lead, or 1-kill lead, and a small gold lead, and they don't need to accelerate the game as much as they needed to in the previous game that we saw. So currently what I want to see from them is take a chill pill, just say, okay, we got the first Drake, we are able to potentially even give a few Drakes, get some farm on Jinx, get 2 items to 3 items, and then look to see if you can get some of these picks to get the game rolling for them.
But I think a champion that sort of doesn't have that luxury is the Trundle for Hellish, right? As he's been caught out here, combo down. Ultimate available for Cobham as Pierce is here as well. The flash away keeps the man in the jungle alive, but that's not the sort of pressure that you want to be putting out on the Trundle. You want to be getting into these lanes, fighting up against people, and not falling to early CS deficits versus a Viego that's going to scale so well.
Yeah, and that's what you like to see from K5. They're being proactive. They're saying, we need these neutrals. They want to get this Herald. Okay, we move our bot lane into the mid lane, and they're going to send Cobham to bot and just hold the line to make sure that they don't lose too much in bot. They will get the Herald now, which means that they can choose to give a big gold injection and accelerate Floops potentially to make sure that he stays ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah, well, Jinx from ahead is pretty disgusting to fight against, but K5, they have been very active with moving members around the map, and that means that sort of CS leads that you'd maybe expect to come out, particularly from this Syndra up against the Sylas, aren't really coming to bear thus far, and you're not accelerating the gold lead once again, and we've seen what Invulnerables can do in an even gold state game.
Definitely. And we now see these resets coming out here. They're gonna move back into their standard lanes, and I assume Sundar is gonna walk back to mid as well. So I would assume that they're gonna be able to get mid power, and they're gonna be able to shift into the bot lane and be able to use the Herald down there. Currently, we do see in the top side that Poppy is still behind in CS, but it's not as bad as it could be. He still got the first blood, and he still has a decent amount of gold to make sure that he's able to survive this lane compared to the previous games.
That's the key thing, right? You just want to survive. You don't want to be falling down or giving more advantages over to Uzol as items not really coming through just yet. Drake in a minute and a half, and Hellish potentially looking for a play on the bottom side of the map, but K5 done a good job of just sort of neutralizing the Trundle, not really allowing to have the same impact that you'd like to in these early stages.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very crucial that they're able to make sure that they're not able to get any leads anywhere on the side of Invulnerable. Nobody on Borrow was really snowballing away with the game, as we have seen in the previous two games, where both games Usual kind of was just getting a bunch of plates and was able to just get such a big lead that he was just making a too big of a difference. In this game, no plates so far going over to him. Despite Stardust's roam, they were able to put Corbin up towards the top side, making sure that they didn't lose a bunch of gold to him, making sure that this game is not getting out of control in the top side.
And K5, they've been able to do a little bit of double dipping on these early objectives, not only picking up that first straight, but Painful also with the Herald in his back, so that's some guaranteed gold when he chooses to put that one down. And with Drake spawning in 20 seconds, this is maybe a pick that you could use here. Floop's caught out. Piscolo and Sander getting the kill in the 2v2.
Yeah, and that is huge. 10 seconds before the Drake is spawning, they make the pick they need to make, and they're gonna be able to pick up this Drake, I assume.
Yeah, and we talked about people not really being accelerated. For the first time, it feels like it's Piscolo who's now a couple of kills on the poke. Varus and going to be able to apply a little bit of pressure as Fierce fighting up with Cobbin in the mid lane. K5 still willing to move over as Painful dancing into the pit using the ultimate, but isn't going to get the kill and is now locked in the hostile takeover. Removed from the rift by Fierce as Nodu, forced to flash away, but the piercing arrow from downtown takes him out.
And that looks like desperation from K5. They do end up losing the Drake, and they end up giving 2 kills over. 1 kill to the Varus and 1 kill to the Silas. The 2 key members that Invulnerable want to have fed on the bot side ends up getting the gold injected, and they end up getting full control over this game now.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing maybe 1 or 2 plates falling in favor of Invulnerables, as well as it really come to play in the early game. Of Floop's just a little bit too far up, forced to flash back. Sander will be taken low by the tower, but no more shot. Is it going to come through? Piscolo, that was risky, buddy, but still stays alive.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that Invulnerable is not afraid of taking these fights, and they're just gonna keep trying to push the tempo of this game. And we want to see some of the tenacity that we have seen from K5 before, that we saw against Astralis, where they were able to come back and keep fighting and making the plays needed to make sure that they can stay in this game, because currently the game seems to be slipping out of their hands.
Herald using the bot lane. Piscolo! He didn't recall. He just stayed there, and that gives a shutdown over to Floops. That's a lot of gold for the Jinx, and with the Herald charging through, going to get a couple of plates as well. K5 fight back.
And that is huge. Just what they needed. They get the plates back onto Floops, a kill onto Floops. The man who needs to show up and carry has been giving a lot of gold right here.
Yeah, and game 1 was way away, but it was the Sivir from that man in the bottom lane, which was so instrumental to secure K5 the dub. Nodu thinking about something spicy here, but Fierce is going to check him. X-Flash is out of there, but still gets hit by the Chain Lash. A load of damage coming through, but gets the hook back onto the Silas. Tower aggro not going to be taken, but with 3 members here, the Silas is not long for the wave. The bailout will buy but a moment as Painful gets his first kill of the game. 4-4 across the rift.
And that is the K5 we want to see in this game if they're going to push us to a game 5. They end up getting the pick they needed. Nodu looking for the pick, overstaying kind of, you could even argue, but his team is there to back him up, making sure that they're able to pick up yet another pick.
Yeah, but I like this from Hellish and from Uzol. They're taking all of this pressure that is being precipitated in the bottom half of the raft, and they are going, okay, we're going to start to counter jungling a little bit, taking away that red buff for the Trundle. Slowly but surely, the CS lead for the Camille has started to grow. Now on that Divine Sundra, a massive power spike in the 1v1.
Yeah, this is where this matchup gets grim for any tank against a Camille. Even a 2-level lead for Uzol. This is looking scary in the top side. In the 2 previous games, Uzol has been the difference maker, and he's again looking to be that guy who's able to just take over the game.
It's a real threat that K5 are going to have to contend with. Next Dragon spawning in a couple of minutes. It's been where a lot of the fights have occurred and where we've seen a lot of the action lay down. Both teams with a Dragon at their back, and I'm sure that they'll want to pick up one of those to accelerate towards potential of a soul. Would just be the Cloud so not something massively valued by a lot of teams, but that extra movement speed can be deceptively powerful.
Yeah, definitely. But I will commend Stardust this time around, and Cobbin for him holding the wave early on, that this Kimmel did not end up getting 5 plates this time around. So we did say we need to see this pure ban last time, and it has paid dividend because this time they did not end up losing their tower and 5 plates as they did in the last game, and they're able to actually make sure that this game stays competitive.
But it's still the side lanes pressuring for Invulnerables, right? Piscolo and Sandra have basically been stood at Floops and Nodu's tower this entire bot lane, and they've managed to take a fair chunk of their HP out of that one, so maybe we're going to be seeing first tower secured in there. Painful moving over. Viego gonna have a rough time getting in. Chains of Corruption thrown out, and that's a lot of damage dropped down as Cobbin has been jumped onto by Fierce. You don't want to be in melee range of a Silas, mate. Steals away the ultimate and gets the solo kill.
Yeah, and Invulnerable getting the better end of these trades, both getting the flash out of Painful and able to kill Cobbin, getting complete map control and looking to get the first blood tower in the bot side.
God, and now we're seeing a sort of 2-level lead for Uzol in this top lane. That's the price that you pay as Stardust, and when you are rotating for these plays to try and help out your team, you are giving more gold and XP, and those precision protocols are really starting to hurt.
Oh!
Okay, that's a solo kill.
Yeah, that is looking to be what could be the signals of the end of the series with how well Uzol and the side of Invulnerable are doing across the map. They are simply just outclassing in every way right now.
And they're going to be able to pick up this first Drake without a real contest coming through from K5. And again, a decent early game coming out from K5, but Invulnerables have seemed to strike back at every opportunity. And Uzol's just casually got a held Cobbin, is going to ult him, and that's a shutdown. That's big gold going over to the Syndra.
Okay, I see you, K5. They heard us talking smack, and now they're just trying to show us that they're still alive in this game and ready to fight.
Great stuff to see. And, well, I mean, if you look broadly across the members of K5, it looks all right for them. You've got a mythic Jinx here, 2 kills onto Floops, and Cobbin just picking up that solo kill. He's going to be able to back and get himself even more. Piscolo. Oh, he thought the hook hit.
Yeah.
He thought the hook hit.
Oi. Okay, I need to calm down a bit here. I'm getting a bit too hyped up. Every time I notice on the street, I'm like, okay.
No do thresh, man. Like, this just...
Every hook is too close for comfort. It feels like when I look at it, I'm like, it's gonna hit. For sure, it's gonna hit. But this time not.
Once again, we're seeing Invulnerables. They've gotten that bot lane tower. They've now gotten this top lane tower. And the thing is, you can try and push against Piscolo in the mid lane if you are K5, but when you're going for lethality Varus, your wavelet is just so exceptional, and you don't really have the instant engage tools from K5 to jump on top of this guy and take him out.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of the best picks to just safely wave clear. You can just charge up your Q and just clear the entire wave with that one, and then it's gone.
Hold on.
And you're fine. Ooh.
O2, fishing for a pick here. Painful going to lock down Sander, and they will be able to take out the Renata, so that's 1 kill, and that goes to Floops. That's massive, but look at this. Uzol locks Starduster in the Hextech ultimatum and gets the second kill of the game for himself. Nodu flashing forward. The hook goes millimeters wide, but it's still a double for Floops.
Yeah, and this might look like what is going to be the story of this game. Floops able to get 2 kills here, able to go to 4-1 is massive, but on the other end, Uzol able to get the solo kill and is also massive in this game. It's looking to be a hot one.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, Flipper, that is reminding me of the previous game, right? Floops on a lead, on a carry, but Uzol just accelerating through on these split pushes. The crucial thing, though, is that the Jinx is going to have a hell of a better time when we get to 30 minutes than Draven did.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely a big difference in having a Jinx who is this fed compared to a Draven, because Jinx, when she's this fed, can be very, very oppressive with her range. And as long as Starduster is able to just use her kit to make sure that he denies Uzol getting on to Jinx, then he's doing his job perfectly. In this fight, he might die, but he denied Uzol getting into the fight, making sure that they were able to pick up the kills with Floops.
I like that from Hellish.
Yeah.
Giving us a little wave there. not had too much success on the Trundle thus far, but I think when we are looking at these team fights, as long as he's getting onto the Starduster, he's doing his job to a certain extent. Piscalo throwing out the Chains of Corruption, locking down Floops, but the Lantern to safety comes through. Uzol looking for a flank himself, but isn't quite able to find it. There's that Subjugate down onto Starduster. The Poppy, a hell of a lot more squishy as Fierce diving in with the stolen ultimate and looking to get the knockup. Multiple members going to be locked down as Uzol is in the pit. Sander flashing with the ultimate. Nodu gets taken down by Hellish as somehow Uzol is still alive. He's still alive. He's still alive. And no one on K5 can touch him. 3 kills for Invulnerables.
It's like Uzol is just breaking the game. This is not legal. When Floops is untouched, you would be thinking, okay, they're for sure winning the fight. But no, it does not matter. Uzol is just continuing to take over in these games, going absolute crazy.
Now starting up the Baron. There's 2 items on the Camille. The turn potential is real for Invulnerables, going over the wall, but not quite finding the stun. That's a lot of damage for the ultimate, but here comes Fierce, and they get the reset. Uzol just cannot die. It's another kill for Invulnerables. The Baron on 6,000 HP and going to be chunked down. Painful moving his way over from the base, but he is not going to be here in time. Baron at 21 minutes in favor of Invulnerables. Sander's going to die, but I don't think he cares all that much.
Yeah, and we are just watching a godlike top lane performance. He is absolutely taking his team on his back and saying, you guys think that you can win K5? Nope, I'm just gonna kill you all alone.
We'll have to see how much of a Mastercard Baron power play they can get. The cleanse, crucial there from Piscalo as K5 are committing so hard to try and get something in the mid lane. The Baron pushing them back as Drake is on the cards. This would be sole point if Invulnerables get it. Linking health bars, ultimates down as well.
Yeah, and it seems like K5 is just gonna be able to pick up this Drake for free. Yeah, they are just able to take it, and now they're gonna back out. I mean, they lose the Baron, but they get the Drake, so they stop this dragon stacking that has been going in favor of Invulnerable the last couple of times. So they're able to now buy some time, potentially be able to get this 3rd item onto Floops and potentially make it competitive again.
But off of this reset, they're going to be losing their mid lane tower, and this is what Invulnerables have been so good at doing. It's just capitalizing on the mistakes that K5 made. Not even the mistakes, just the situations that K5 have ended up finding themselves in. It's been a great performance from the Swedish representatives so far, as this is match point. There are no more chances in this series, at least, for K5 if they lose here. We'll still have the opportunity to re-qualify for Div 2 in the lower bracket. But if you're having to do that against this Invulnerables team, it's going to be a tough task.
Yeah, and I don't even know what to do against the Uzol in another game. He definitely just... You need like 10 bans against this guy. It seems like they banned all top laners, and it doesn't matter. He has another pick, and he's just able to go absolutely crazy with it.
So now for K5, it's about finding these individual picks, and they may get one onto Fierce. The Silas is pretty low in the top side, so it steals away the Viego ult, and is locked down for an eternity, and removed from the Rift. Loops and Nodu attempting to defend the mid lane tower. As the minions fall down, they'll be able to do just that.
And that is what you want to see from K5. They're able to take out the side laner who's alone. They will lose the bot tower, but that would have gone down no matter what. And they're able to starve off some of the pressure that Invulnerable are having on the map.
Uzol's level 15, man.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This guy has accelerated to such a ridiculous set. He may be getting caught out in the bottom side. Oh, that's a beautiful Hextech ultimatum. Dodges away from the stun from Starduster and flashes back to keep himself healthy. Actually dives back in as the members of Invulnerables are here to back him up. Colvin being jumped onto and forced to flash back himself. Linking health bars for a couple of members of K5 as Uzol once again going forward. Floops, though, crucially, still alive. Still a lot of damage on the Jinx.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy the confidence that we see coming out from Uzol. He does not care. He sees 3 members and he doesn't know where the 4th is, and he is just flying in, and it works, and he's just doing it over and over again. He just doesn't care. He's just like, I know he knows his limit so well that it's even surprising. K5, they think, oh, he's for sure overstepping here, right? Nope, it is you K5 who are overstepping, and they are getting punished by Invulnerable.
I am really worried what happens to the health bars of K5 once that Death Dance comes online for Uzol. Common there with a good scout of the week to push back Fierce, who's been doing a fair job of himself in the side lane split, pushing, applying pressure, and Starduster, this is not a good place to be, buddy. Uzol 3 levels up on the puppy, and it may be a relatively good matchup, but you are getting kicked in the head. A killing spree for the Camille, but now a little bit caught out. Has to hookshot wall dive over the walls. Painful chases with the ultimate, dodges away from the rockets. The hook will still land, and it's a death sentence for the Camille. But Fierce gets one back in the top lane and goes golden to stop himself from falling down.
They do end up picking off Yusel. The unkillable Camille has died in this game and is now no longer on the map. So for some time, K5 can feel safe. There is nobody here who's gonna come and murder them as Yusel has been doing this game. They're able to get their revenge, kill the raid boss, and make it somewhat competitive still.
But it's so rough. All of the outer towers have fallen for K5, and all the inner towers have fallen for K5. But Invulnerables have still got all their turrets standing strong, and that is a 5,000 gold advantage. And whilst the gold lead has been misleading so far in this series, I think it is very difficult to argue that Invulnerables are the team in control right now.
Yeah, they are definitely the team in control, and they're definitely looking to take this series right now. And when I'm looking at K5, I'm saying, okay, you are behind, but Jinx has 3 items now. So if you are able to keep him safe, for sure he should be able to take over. Even with as strong Yusol is, if he goes untouched as he has been in some of these previous fights, he is the remaining hope of K5. If he's able to get the resets and be able to just keep shooting, he could be the difference maker now.
Well, he's going to have to be the difference maker as K5 lose here. That's down to the lower bracket with them. But Invulnerables get a chance to progress further in this tournament. Baron and Drake joining the Rift at basically the same time. Be sole point for whoever picks up the Drake, and Invulnerables look in prime position to take it, getting these side lanes pushed out that K5 have to respond to.
Yeah, that is what you love to see from Invulnerable. They're being patient, but they're not getting caught out. They're letting Yusol just push out bot lane, completely forcing them to respond. And Jinx is actually all the way in bot as they are starting this Baron.
They're pulling the TP from Luzol, who is level 16. Death's Dance goes over the wall and is hunting for the members of K5. They will knock away the Poppy, and the stolen Renata ult is absolutely massive. No, that's just Sander's own, as he gets a double kill onto his mid laner of Fierce, a shutdown onto the crucial Jinx. The AD carry that needed to pop off will not have the opportunity. A triple kill for Fierce, and Yusel will hunt for Starduster. Invulnerables in an immaculate game 4 will look to get a decisive advantage.
Yeah, and this looks to be the nail in the coffin. They might even be able to end here if they want. And just a beautiful, beautiful performance from Invulnerable, and especially Yusol, who has been in the past 3 games, been such a pivotal point, being able to create so much pressure and making sure that they take these games.
The respawns will come through for K5, but it will not be enough. Painful diving forward with the ultimate, but has to run himself. The Nexus being focused down. K5, you'll take your chances in the lower brackets, but Invulnerables get the win.
Yeah, and that was one of the best top lane performances I've seen in quite a while, able to just destroy K5. Yusol just being a godlike man on these carry champions, just being able to kill them over and over again, and just coming down, just like fights that looked lost in some of these games. He was just there. The pentacle, unofficial pentacle he got, was basically a fight that was lost, where he just came in and swooped in and took over the entire fight, making sure that they end out on top.
But I think the key thing as well is that even when it was looking a little bit scrappier, Invulnerables, they had this sense of poise about them. They had this sense of, we kind of know what we're doing, and you can lose your head a couple of times in a best of 5 series, but on the whole, it was a lot of clean play. It was a lot of knowing what the opponents were going to do, reacting to it very, very well, and continuing to put K5 in situations that are so difficult to get out of.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's one of those times where I'm looking at K5, I'm looking to the future here for them when they go into the lower bracket now. You have to find a way to fix some of these issues you have in the early game. You
Yeah.
tend to fall behind a bit too much, and you're not able to actually get the ball rolling for yourselves. And if you get the ball rolling and you get into mid game, you need to be able to step on that gas, making sure you keep that lead.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, weren't able to do it. And Invulnerables coming out deserving 3-1 winners in the series. We are going to be jumping to a short break, but join us in a few minutes as we are going to have some interviews with the guys that made it happen that game. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the stream where we are being joined by Sander, the victorious support from Invulnerables in their 3-1 victory over K5. We got you here, man. How does it feel getting that first win of this promotion series?
I mean, obviously it feels amazing. As you might know, we lost to them in the regular split.
Yeah.
And we went off to like the 0-1 start and we were like, but then our top laner just decided, well, he's the better top laner. So we just picked the better top laner champs and he kind of fisted them, you know? So yeah, it feels really good.
One thing that I do want to know, actually, since you put so much priority on his champions top lane, how did you feel when you were in draft and you're watching K5 just banning basically every top laner in existence.
I mean, you know, they didn't ban every top lane in existence because he still carried, right?
True.
He does have a champion Ocean, unlike bot lane, I will be honest. We kind of just Varus Renata two-trick, but you know, a win is a win.
Yeah, and one game I wanted to touch on was the Fiora game we saw where he got the unofficial pentakill. I wanted to hear like the thoughts that you were having in the game when the fight looked almost lost, and then he came in and just turned it around.
I mean, that game we were kind of stressed because if I remembered correctly, we gave a few drakes early game. So we felt like, oh, we really need to win this team fight. And as you said, we went in and kind of lost it at the first. It looked lost at least. But then we realized, oh wait, we left this Fiora on the sideline for 20 minutes. And then I looked back and she just killed everyone. So yeah, GG's.
Yeah, I kind of want to allude to that as well because game 3, bot lane didn't go well for you guys. Like,
No.
if we're being perfectly honest, obviously you guys don't have access to the gold, but at one point we checked in and Floops was around about 4.5k ahead of Piscolo. And I just kind of asked, what is it like for you guys? Obviously playing bot lane in a team which is finding so much success through their solo laners, right? How does that fit into your style, and how do you adapt to play in a team environment like that?
Well, I mean, first of all, you just kind of need to internalize your own role, I would say. You just need to think always like, oh, well, we don't really need to do much. I know I have the better team in a way. Like, of course, we have to fulfill our role of being weak side, which we kind of didn't do well this game. Draft diff, but I mean, it's we're used to it. Let's just say you get used to it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So I guess looking forward towards the rest of the tournament now. Obviously, this was quite a strong performance from you guys, especially in the sort of final few games of the series. But definitely had some weaknesses that could have been exploited. I think were exploited to a certain extent. How do you change things going forward to the future series so that things are a little bit less reliant on getting these massive leads in your solo lanes and coming online in the mid game?
Well, that's a great question, sir. One we will have to think about until the next game. But I think me and our ADC just has to step up a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
We didn't play perfectly this game, and I think we could have done more with the resources we got. But at the same time, I do think that we are just so fucking good on top side. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can say this. You can say, well, he's gonna get banned. No, he plays anything.
Oh, well, that's fair enough. I imagine that's quite comforting. Being what Flipper? Anything else you want to ask the man while he's here?
I mean, I'd definitely like to hear that you guys have a lot of confidence in solo laners. I can definitely hear that, so that's very delightful to hear.
That's absolutely great, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the interview. Obviously, massive congratulations on the win today, and best of luck going forward, mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, what a lovely guy. Oh, what a really, really lovely guy. Now, just double checking with production. I believe we are going to be having a losers interview as well in a few minutes. So if you just bear with us for a couple minutes, we're going to go to break and then we're going to come back with the interview. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. We are joined here by the support from Karolinerna. Nodu, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the victory in the series today, man. What went wrong today?
I think they have too good of solo laners. Nah, but they were playing really good around like split pushing and stuff, and we didn't have like the communication to address the problems in game.
Okay,
So
so
overall, yeah.
yeah, how do you see you guys now? You're going into the lower bracket here and looking ahead. What do you view as what you have to take away from the losses today, and what you think you need to improve on to make sure that you're actually able to win in the end?
Yeah, I think we have to improve like how to fix this. Like if a team split push, right? So we need to fix the problems we had today. But otherwise, like laning and stuff, I think we're doing really well. Bot lane, for example, and mid lane was doing fine. It's just when you get into the mid stage of the game, it gets a bit rough.
Yeah. And other than maybe the top lane issues, what else did you see as another issue maybe potentially had in today's series?
I think it was just communication where we're not 100% that we want to fight. So we like 2 people want to fight, 3 people don't, and we like go for it anyways, and it's like not full commit. So
I see.
So, like, watching sort of this series up until I'd say sort of like that fourth and final game, the early game felt like it had sort of quite a slow pace to it, quite a medium tempo. Was that something that you guys felt was benefiting you, or would you have liked to maybe get things going a bit more in the sort of like the first 10-15 minutes?
I think like I always want to fight, right? So I'm like fine with fighting permanently, but I think we were fine scaling that game. But it was just one fight. I think it was a Drake where we gave
Yeah.
Drake and like died 3 people. But before that stage, I think we were really fine in the game. But we gave them a lot by dying there. So, but I think we were fine going into late game because I think we had a better, like if they're not out split pushing us and like if we can answer to it, I think we have good 5v5s.
So do you think that this was almost a matchup thing, sort of specifically against Invulnerables, because they did commit so heavily to this split push style? And is that something you guys just didn't feel comfortable necessarily moving and playing against?
Yeah, I think they played really good today, like with split push and stuff. Because we played versus them in like before this playoffs, right? And then they played worse, but now they actually played better. So
I hate it when people do that.
yeah,
So
There's
illegal.
nothing more irritating. So
Yeah.
I guess the sort of like the final question from me here is what do you think about the sort of level of Invulnerables? Like obviously coming into this tournament, there's 4 of you guys in here, a load of you from Div 3. Do you feel like they're favorites based on how they played today, or do you still think that you guys can come back and if you are able to fix those issues, give them a real shot?
I haven't seen FMG play right in playoffs. I haven't seen that team, and I think people have said that that team is really good. But I think like Invul is very beatable, right? I don't think they stomp us or something, but like we just need to fix the problems and then we can probably win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, was you were able to get sort of big leads yourselves. It was just that little bit of issues transitioning them into hitting the enemy nexus. Well,
Yeah.
Nodu, thank you very much for joining us today. Obviously, disappointing loss for yourselves, and you're now
Legendary
jumping
Thresh.
into that losers bracket. But yeah, I hope that you guys are able to sort of put up a stronger performance and really show what you guys can do.
All right.
Thank you very
Well,
much,
thank
man.
you. Yeah. See you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
It's always nice talking to sort of the guys after the loss, because like sometimes they come in and they're like a little bit dejected, but I think Notu's there, I think very clear of focus and understands like what they need to do to fix the problems that they had that game.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they know what they need to work on, and they're probably gonna come back stronger next week.
Well, we hope so. As did mention FMG Formulation Gaming, they are going to be playing up against XKB in our second of these first sort of best of 5s in round 1. That is going to be, not tomorrow, Saturday, same time as this one, so make sure that you tune in for that one. I've been Middlecott, that's been Flipper, I pointed the wrong way, I don't care. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.